Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to make the most adorable knit pumpkins with our SENTRO machine. So let's grab some supplies and we can jump into it. So for today's project I'm going to be using my 40-pin SENTRO machine. If you are new to the SENTRO or have never used it before, I would suggest going back to our beginner classes just to kind of get an idea of what you're getting into with this machine prior to doing this tutorial. For yarn, I'm going to be using this white speckled Red Heart Comfort yarn. It's a 4-weight medium. These machines can be very, very picky with yarn, so make sure you kind of try out a couple different ones to make sure it's going to work with this machine, because if it's the wrong yarn, it will drop a lot of stitches. So hopefully this works for us. If not, I can make an adjustment, but I have used it before and it worked well, so hopefully it works. We're also going to need a couple other things. We're going to need some fiber fill. We'll need a little bit of twine if you want to put twine on your finished project, but this is kind of just an extra, not necessary. We'll need a glue stick and glue sticks, like the inserts, or glue gun and glue sticks, sorry. We'll need a darning needle. We'll need a little stem. I honestly just found these sticks in the park and I cut them up. They're just a piece of wood. They're perfect for our pumpkins. You do not need to buy these sticks. Just go to a local park and find some on the ground, because you can buy these, but they're really expensive and you're buying sticks. So that's ridiculous. So just go to your local park, cut down, or just find some broken down tree that's already dead and cut it, and it's perfect. And then we will also need some scissors. So once we have all of our supplies, we can jump into the project. All right, hopefully this view is okay for you guys. So I just have my SENTRO machine here and I have my yarn. Now we are going to do a long tail cast on. We don't need any waste yarn for this project, so we'll just start right away with the color of our project. So for me, I'm going to be making a white pumpkin. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to wrap around this black pin. Now, I'm not sure if you're not using a SENTRO machine, you may not have the black pin, but this is the first pin for the SENTRO machine. So I'm going to be wrapping around the black pin here, just like this. This is my short tail. It's going to sit on the inside of my project. And I'm going to work my way around. We're in front of the black pin. Then we're going to go behind the next pin, and then in front and behind and in front. And I'm just slowly spinning my lever here just as I go, front, behind, in front, behind, back and forth, all the way around. And this is how we cast on our yarn. Just take your time. Now we should end up behind. So we started in front of the black, we should end behind the white. And I'm just going to put my yarn into my feeder, and I'm just going to show you here on the front. I have my tension. I kind of, just depending on the yarn, I will either put it through the middle one and the loosest one, if you can see that. Or I will just use the looser one, and it just depends on how thick the yarn is. The other thing you want to make sure you do prior to this is you want to make sure that your ball of yarn that your tail is coming from has lots of free yarn, because you don't want any extra tension on this machine, because that will cause it to drop stitches. So for this guy, I think I might just do 2 and see how that goes to begin. So what we're going to do is, depending on the size of pumpkin you want, you're going to do a certain amount of rows. So if you want a smaller pumpkin, you're going to do 85 rows. If you want a medium-sized pumpkin, you're going to do anywhere from 90 to 95 rows. And if you want a large pumpkin, you're going to do 100 to 105 rows. So it's just dependent on how big you want your pumpkin. You can also use the different sized machines, but I find this machine makes the perfect sized pumpkin. So I'm going to do 100 rounds just for ease of an even number. And I'm going to count just by hand. My machine sometimes can be a little bit tricky. So every time I pass this black marker here, if you can see my black pin right here, that's going to be 1 round for me. So this first cast on round does not count as a round. So I'm going to start and do my first round, and I just want to make sure that my machine is picking up all of my stitches. And that is 1 round. So I'm going to continue along. I'm going to do 100 rounds, and I will work alongside you while we do this, and then we will meet up once we have our 100 rounds. Okay, I'm not at 100 yet. I'm at 70, but I just wanted to tell you, once you reach a point where your fabric here is going to be touching the floor or the bottom of whatever you're working on, you want to make sure you reach in and just roll it up, because if it starts to touch, it's going to affect your stitches and you will get more drop stitches. So at this point now, every few rounds, I'm going to start rolling mine up until I'm done, because it just is too long. So keep rolling, and I'm going to finish 30 more rounds, and then I will meet you back here. All right, so I have reached 100 stitches or rows now. So I'm going to take my yarn tail here, and I'm going to cut quite a large tail, because this is the tail that we're going to use to sew our pumpkin together. So I want to make sure that I have enough. All right, so I have cut my yarn, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my yarn here out of my tension and out of my guide, and I'm going to wrap it around the black hook here, and I'm going to sit it in the middle. Now this part is a little bit, probably the most difficult part, and the part where if you're going to screw it up, this is probably going to be where you screw it up. What I'm going to do just to start, just to be safe here, is I'm going to place my yarn tail end here on my darning needle. And I'm going to have that kind of near the top so I can grab it when I'm ready. So the first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to do 1 whole round with no yarn in. And all that's going to do is release your stitches out. So you should just have loops on here. But you want to be super careful not to let them go. All right, so sorry if this is kind of hard to see, but you can kind of see all these little loops here that are sitting on these hooks. We're going to be grabbing those. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to start with this black one. And all we're going to be doing is pulling through to secure these stitches. Now, I personally like to keep a finger on the next stitch just so that it doesn't let go on me. So all I'm going to do is just go underneath, like between these 2 stitches, underneath, and grab this stitch here. And then I'm going to go to the next one, underneath, and grab that one, and grab the next one. I'm going to just do 3 or so right now at a time. And then I'm going to keep going along, grabbing my stitches, and you want to make sure you don't drop them, because then you're going to have issues with your project falling apart. So if you do drop a stitch, don't freak out. Just try and find where the stitch is and grab the loop. The good thing is this section of your project is going to be pretty much hidden. So if it's not, oh my God, pristine perfect, no one is going to know. But you do need to make sure you grab a loop from each stitch, because if not, then you will drop stitches all the way down your project, and that you will see in your project. It will just unravel. So I'm just going around very slowly, taking my time, gathering all these stitches. So I'm just on my last few here. I just need to let them go. And then I'll just grab these last 4 stitches. And I'm going to put my SENTRO machine to the side. And this is what we're left with, a long tube. All right, so at this point, all I like to do first is just stretch out my work, because you want to just make sure you have stretched out all those stitches so that they look like that really perfect knit stitch. Now our long tail cast on one side, all you have to do is pull like a drawstring to close that center slightly. See how it's getting smaller and smaller. And the other side is the exact same. So we're just going to pull that side to close it. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to fully close the one side that my needle is still attached to. I'm going to just make it as tight as I can. And I'm going to take my darning needle and I'm just going to kind of sew through some of those top loops just to make sure it's extra secured. And once I'm happy with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my needle into the center of my round here. On the other side, I'm going to stick my hand into my project. I'm going to reach in and I'm going to grab this center with where the needle is, and I'm going to pull it so it meets up with the top of my other side. Oopsies, and I've pulled my needle out. That's okay. So I just want this to be out the center. I'm going to pull my tail out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the other end, the other one that we haven't tightened yet, and I'm going to start tightening that one. I'm going to pull both. You want them to be together at the top. And as tight as you can get it, like this. And all I'm going to do here is I'm going to tie a knot just to tighten this off. So this is what we have right now. We have what kind of looks like a very simple but tiny hat. I mean, this could be a hat. You could just roll the edge and you have a hat. But that is not what we're making today. So this is where we should be at this point. We should have just this hat with a bunch of space on the inside. All right, so we have our two strands. We have our really long one that we cut for sewing, and then we have the other one. I always like to keep the other one just in case I need more and I didn't cut a long enough strand, but I think I did. And this long one, we're still gonna keep on our darning needle. So what we're gonna do here is we're going to stuff our pumpkin here. So I'm just gonna take some fiber fill and I'm going to stuff this. Now it doesn't need to be like stuffed tight, but you still want enough stuffing that it's going to hold its shape. So I think that's probably too much. So I think that that's probably good. I kind of just stuffed like this section here, and this section is a little bit less stuffed because we're going to squish it down like this. So if you compress it and you're happy with how it's looking, then that's probably how much stuffing you should have in there. But if it's not looking how you want it, you can always add more if you want. So once we're finished stuffing, we're going to start sewing now. Just going to untangle myself here. So for the sewing portion, what we're going to be doing is we're going to find a line. So I'm going to use, for instance, this line right here. If you can see here, I've set my strand right in between this knit all the way to the bottom, and then at the very bottom here, I'm going to grab this very last piece of yarn here. I'm going to pull this through. I'm going to stick it into the center of my stuffing, and I'm going to push it up through the center hole that we made. And I'm going to pull that. I want it to still be sitting in that strand there. That way you can't see it as much. And I'm just making sure that my stuffing is staying where I want it to be. So once I have this side done, now I'm going to go complete opposite down a strand on this side. I'm going to put that through here, and then I'm going to put it through the center again and up through the top hole there. And I'm going to pull. Now, if you want to, every few rounds, you can pull and tie it off, because sometimes I find it gets a little bit loose the more you do without securing it. So I'm just going to tie it off to my strand. Now so I've done these two now. So now I'm going to go this way, find a center to sit in. Insert it into the top. Just bring in a bit, sorry. And I'm going to pull that one. And I'm going to head to the other side, completely opposite of that. Find a seam I want to stick in. So we're just basically making our way around. So I'm going to pull this guy. And at this point, we should have 4 sections of our pumpkin. Again, I'm going to tie off at this point just to secure those ones that I've done. Now I think 8 looks best, so we're going to just keep going around. Now we're going to go in between each of these sections and do 1. Now your bottom's looking kind of messy right now, but we will fix it, I promise. Coming up through the center it gets harder and harder the longer and the more we do this. So this strand kind of fell off its path here. That's okay. There we go. And the other side. There we go. Again, I'm going to just tie this off. Okay, we just have two more sections to do. So this section here. And then our very last section right here. There we go. And I'm going to just tie a knot here. So there is the main part of our pumpkin. And this is the bottom. So we are going to work on the bottom next. So for the bottom, I'm going to just stick my needle here down into a section that's not too thick that I can actually get my needle down there. Get that out. There we go. All right, so you should have it pretty much closed, but you will notice that there's some sections here where you can still see stuffing. So we're going to fix that. So all we're going to do here is we're going to take our needle and we're going to grab a little section of each section. So I'm just going through this one, and then I'm going to find a little section of this one here. And I'm just going around and gathering a few stitches from each section. To close it up. And I'm just going to pull that, and you can see there that it really ties it all kind of together. And then I'm just going to make a little knot here just for some extra security. I'm going to push this back up to the front, or I guess the top, not the front, or whatever you want to call it. If I can get my needle out. It's so tight in the center there, so. And I'm going to tie this off to this guy. Perfect. Next, I'm just going to cut my yarn. And I'm going to place both of these strands here on my darning needle. And I'm just going to push these through to weave in the ends. I'm just going to cut the remaining yarn here. And there is our pumpkin all done. Now, of course, we want to add a few little things to make it a little bit cuter. So let's do that now. All right, so lastly, I want to add my little stem. So I'm just going to grab my hot glue gun, and I'm just going to put a little bit of hot glue here right in the center. And I'm just going to put my stem in. I like to kind of angle it a little bit. I think that looks really cute. Just like that. And then if you want to, you can also add a little bit of twine. So you can just wrap it around. You can make a little bow if you'd like. And this is all obviously very optional. There you go. You can make the bow smaller. You can cut the tails. Whatever you want it to look like is what it should look like. So there is our SENTRO knit pumpkin. I hope you guys really enjoyed this pattern. It's such a fun one, perfect for market prep, and these little pumpkins are perfect home decor. So let me know in the comments what you thought about this. Let me know if you made any and send some pictures over on our Instagram. We'd love to see it. We hope you guys have a lovely day, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.